slowly take a few deep breaths. Bring your hands to heart center, and we'll start chanting Om. Inhale here. Om. And you can release your hands. So today we're going to be working on the kidney and bladder line meridians. So we're going to start in a butterfly position. So bring your feet together, and I'll give you a few options. If you have a strap, this is a really nice way to use a strap. Make a nice big loop, and then you can put it around you, kind of like a belt, and have the buckle more towards the front, so you have access to the strap, with the end of the strap facing towards you. Then you're gonna slide the loop under your feet, and then you can kind of tighten the strap as you need, and keep the back part of the strap low down on your hips, and just gives you really nice support for this this butterfly position. This is like an Iyengar use of prop. This is how they use the strap for a butterfly or Baddha Konasana. So that's one. If you don't have a strap, you can use a blanket. So you roll it up like a tube like this, fairly long. And then the middle of the tube goes right behind you. And then you tuck the ends underneath your legs. And what that does is it gives support under your thighs. So if your legs are hanging up in the air like this, you're not going to release here, because these muscles are engaged to keep your legs kind of supported and suspended in space. So if you put a blanket, or you can even use your blocks or pillows, really anything, just so you have some support under your legs so they're not hanging out in space, so that you can let go and release. So any of those are really nice. Even if you practice this pose a lot and you don't feel like you need a prop, just if you have the props, just try and just see how it feels, because a lot of times yin is it's just different from your regular Ashtanga or just general vinyasa classes. So just come into it with fresh eyes, as if you're kind of practicing the pose for the first time, because in a way you are. It's a completely different approach and kind of mentality and energy around the yin postures. So that's why we often call them different names when we're practicing yin. So try to not call this Baddha Konasana in yin, and try to call this butterfly. And with a different name, then you can just have a kind of different relationship with the pose when you're practicing it in yin. And then when you're going to your Ashtanga practice and you want to practice Baddha Konasana, that's its own thing. So while it looks similar, there's much different energy around the poses. And then if you feel comfortable here, you can also start to fold forward a little bit to add some more resistance. And also gets into the low back when you start to fold forward. Some discomfort is good, but you want to be able to really soften. And yin is just about release as well as grounding. And relax your face and your jaw. Enjoy the sensation of release and opening in your hips and your inner thigh, your groin area. And let's just take 5 deep breaths here. And slowly come up and pause at the top. Observe any sensations you feel, maybe some sudden flow of energy. And then you can move your prop out of the way. If you have the strap on, you can remove that. And then extend your legs, shake out your knees, adding some movement, blood flow. And then we're going to bring the left foot in towards your right inner thigh. And take a slight twist towards your right leg. So we're going to fold over the right leg. Now, a few things if this feels rather intense, you can put your rolled up blanket or pillow under your knee, and that helps to give some support to your tight hamstring, so it's not as intense on the hamstring. Another thing that's nice is you can take the bolster and put it up against your belly, and then it'll also press down on your quad, so that will help to lengthen your hamstring. You can drape yourself over the bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a pillow, or you can go back to that rolled up blanket. So any of those, you don't have to use any prop at all. Those are just some nice options that feel good. And the same thing with your bent knee as with the first pose. So if it feels like your knee is hanging up in air, just tuck something under your leg for support. And now this we call half dragonfly in Yin. And if you can really deepen into this Yin expression of what we would call Janu Shirshasana in Ashtanga, then it could also help with your Ashtanga practice of this posture. This is a nice stretch to the QL muscle. So that would be on the left lateral side of the spine from the mid to low back. And we're often tight there from lots of sitting and driving. And take 3 deep breaths. And slowly ease up. And if you have the prop, you can move it to the side. And we'll switch sides. So now drawing your sole of your right foot towards your left inner thigh. And then if you need something underneath your right thigh to give it support, place it there. And then whatever variation you did here on the other side, just either blanket under the knee or bolster at the belly, or no prop at all. Just take the same expression on this side now and start to allow your torso to release down towards your left leg. And the kidney and bladder lines or meridians are connected with the water element. And when they're in balance, they bring you an overall sense of vitality. And this is connected with Jing, which is the essence of vitality. It's kind of like concentrated chi, and it originates at the kidney. And this is carried in the reproductive fluids. And when you have an imbalance of the kidney and bladder lines, you can tend to feel fear, anxiety, and sometimes irritability. Feel that nice stretch to the right side of the spine from the mid to low back. And now we'll take 3 deep breaths as we come to the end of this side. Ease yourself back up to sitting. And you can extend your legs out and shake your knees. And now rolling onto your belly. We're going to come into Sphinx pose. So lie on your belly and now come onto your forearms, and your elbows will be slightly in front of your shoulders, palms to the floor, and try to bring your baby toes to touch the floor as well. So that brings an internal rotation of your hips, making space for your sacrum. And draw your shoulder blades down your back so that you can bring the curve into the thoracic spine. Now, if this feels too intense, you can use a pillow or a bolster in front of your chest to give you a little bit more support. And even if you don't need it, maybe you want to try it today. Kind of feels nice to have that extra support of the bolster, kind of propping your chest up. But if you do have the bolster, make sure you're still drawing your shoulder blades down your back so that you can really add that nice arch to the spine rather than hinge at the low back. If your shoulders were up by your ears, you'd be hinging at the low back instead of a rounded kind of arch. And you can also add a slight drawing back of the palms. So palms to the floor, a little bit of resistance as if you're pulling back towards your body with your palms. And just find a really nice sense of stillness here. It's nice to visualize the names of the poses. So you can close your eyes, imagine yourself as the Sphinx. Just tremendous size and weight, very grounded, very still and solid. Deeply connected to the earth, unmoving. And sometimes it helps to draw your attention to your third eye when you're trying to visualize. So you can do that with your eyes closed, attention at the third eye, try to visualize the Sphinx. And let's take 3 deep breaths here. Filling up the lungs completely. And exhale to empty all the air. And then when you take the next deep breath in, it's nothing but fresh new air, oxygen coming in to fill the lungs. So all stagnation at the bottom of the lungs is cleared out. And then if you have the prop, you can move it to the side and stack your hands and rest your forehead on the back of your stacked hands. And then you can release your hips by just rocking your hips side to side. Releasing your low back. And then place your hands under your shoulders and roll yourself up. And then come to sit down. And now we're going to do caterpillar, which is a seated forward fold. So separate your feet about hips distance. And there are some options you can have here with props. So you can take your rolled up blanket, put it underneath your knees. And that again will help if you have very tight hamstrings. And then start to drape yourself over your legs. That's one option. You can also take the blanket or a bolster and put it up against your belly. And start to lean forward, or you could do both. You could have the blanket under your knees and then maybe a pillow or bolster at your belly. And very gently start to release forward and draping your upper body over your legs. And starting off very slowly and allowing the pose to unfold, kind of bloom. And let your feet go out or in, whatever way your feet naturally want to go. It just depends on the position of your hips, just your natural anatomy, whether your feet naturally want to fan out, or maybe your toes want to go in towards each other, or if they stay pointing straight up. And notice how the pose naturally unfolds. So the longer you stay in it, you'll keep being presented with these invitations to maybe sink in a little deeper, just bit by bit. And the more you let go and relax, the more space there is to be supported as you fold forward. As the kidney meridian aligns, becomes unlocked, then your fear and anxiety are also released. Forward folding often encourages an inner looking. As you're folding in on yourself, the gaze turns inward. It becomes a very introspective pose. So notice if that effect arises for you. Whatever thoughts come up, just watch them arise and then allow them to pass away, just float by. And take 3 deep breaths here. And start to slowly come back up to sitting. And then you can lean back on your hands and bring your feet to the floor and do windshield wipers with your knees back and forth. And then come to lie down on your back. We'll do some spinal twists. So lying on your back with your feet to the floor. Lift your hips up just a little bit and then send your hips over to the left and let your knees drop to the right. And extend your left arm out to the side. You can put your right hand on top of the left knee if that feels good. If you cannot keep the knees on top of each other, you can put a pillow between your knees. And you can look straight up or you can turn your head to look left. If you turn your head to look left, you're adding the twist all the way up into the cervical spine, into your neck. But if there's any tension in your neck, then release your head back to center. And spinal twisting always feels good, but feels particularly good after that sequence we just did. Really nice kind of way to integrate and bring all of the postures we just did together. And it's nice to take some extra deep breaths in a spinal twist, as when you fill your lungs up with air, it adds a bit of pressure onto the spinal cord and helps to stimulate movement of the spinal fluid. So we take some deep breaths and feel how that makes space in your body. And then maybe you can settle into a deeper twist on the exhale into that space created by the inhale. And take 3 deep breaths here. And then draw your legs and hips back to center. And you can extend your legs straight just for a couple of breaths so that you can feel your spine and hips as they integrate the twist. Feel the difference from left to right hip. And then we will come back, feet to the floor. And then lift your hips up a little bit, send them all the way to the right, and allow your knees to drop to the left. So you may notice this side is different from the first side. Maybe it's tighter, or maybe it's easier on this side. Just noticing the differences without judgment or expectation. And you can extend your right arm straight out to the side. And then option to turn your head to look at your right hand, or you can keep your head neutral if there's any neck tension. Take a deep breath to settle in. Notice if you're tensing up at the inside of your right thigh, try to release. Relax your right shoulder down towards the floor. Now leaning into the feel-good sensations of the spinal twist. And now you can take 3 deep breaths as we come to the end. And come back to center with your legs and your hips. Extend your legs straight and feel hopefully more balanced side to side. And for the Shavasana today, I recommend legs up the wall. You don't have to. If you want to come legs up the wall, it's easiest to sit alongside the wall first and then lie down. And then you can just swing around. It's a little easier that way than trying to scoot yourself up against the wall. And extend your legs up the wall. And this is also a good posture for the kidney and bladder meridians, but it's very relaxing, and it's especially nice to rest like this if you get low back pain. It can help relieve that. And low back pain is often a symptom of imbalance in the kidney meridian, as well as headaches, frequent urination, and any kind of mental problems can sometimes be caused by kidney meridian imbalance. So relaxing, legs up the wall, or just lying in regular Shavasana. Full relaxation. Excuse me. And start to deepen your breathing again. Or if you want to stay here, you can stay resting as long as you like.
Otherwise, very slowly start to bring movement back to the body. Just the way you exit your Shavasana determines whether you take those benefits with you for the rest of the day. So always taking time to come out of Shavasana. Roll onto one side when you're ready. And breathe a few breaths of transition. And then spiraling up to sitting. And we'll finish with chanting Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hands to heart center. Inhale here. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, perfect peace. Thank you for your practice. Namaste.